Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Hello there. Glad you could join us. Sorry for absence again last week.
I had to go out of town. I was in St. George, okay? Yeah. Sometimes you got to go do things with family. How dare I?
I know. Family's just so inconvenient, isn't it? What are you drinking, Cleet?
Tonight, I'm drinking a Guinness Extra Stout.
Oh, Guinness Extra Stout. I
put some extra red hair on my chest.
There you go. I'm drinking a Fisher Double IPA. That's who is it from? I guess just Fisher Brewing Co. All right, from Salt Lake City, a local beer.
Oh, Brayden, I always wonder why you blur your background. Like, what are you hiding back there? I know our audience can't see it, but I'm like,
it's just bodies, man, just bodies.
Just bodies.
My wallpaper is just human skin. I've got jars of eyeballs, and yeah, man, I'm a sick person. I'm a sick individual.
A human foot.
Oh yeah, I've got a foot. It's just hanging from the ceiling. Ceiling fan. It just swings around the room. Yeah, no, I don't know. I just blur my background. I'm shocked you don't. So. The big eyes. I was gonna ask you, Cleet. Did you ever watch Squid Games on Netflix?
Nope.
It's pretty good. They just had the last season. We just wrapped it up. It was actually really good. There's only 3 seasons, so like they didn't drag it out like most shows do, where they pump out like 12, 15 seasons. It was actually really, really good. I enjoyed it. You should check it out.
You know, I got one series I'm rewatching right now. Well, not rewatching. I just watching it right now. I've tried to finish it, but I've always just quit like in season 2.
Breaking Bad?
I'm watching Bleach, you know, the anime.
Oh.
It's pretty good. I like it.
I remember you talking about that a while ago. I can't get into anime. I can't. The hardest I got into anime was Avatar, the cartoon.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just got to pick. There's a lot of garbage out there. One Punch Man's pretty good. Like Bleach. It's about the only 2 I've watched.
Nice.
Okay.
But what's on the agenda, Cleet? What are we talking about this evening?
Yeah, tonight we will be talking about the mysterious reappearance of Karketa Taylor.
Oh.
Could you guys imagine, like, one of your loved ones, like, let's say a family member, like, let's say, like, your brother, Britton, just disappears.
Thank God.
You don't see him for 5 years, and then you, like, see a weird profile on Facebook that looks just like him. Like, saying, like, an old saying like he used to say. What would you do, man?
I don't know. I was going to ask, like, how long they've been gone, but I guess you said about 5 years. I don't know. That'd be weird. Because those 5 years, I think after, I don't know, a year or 2, I don't know, maybe longer, you'd kind of like just give into the fact that they're gone, I guess.
Yeah. Legally dead, you know, have a
you assume the worst
funeral.
Right? You assume the worst at that point. And then 5 years, they showed back up. I'd be like, the fuck, man? Probably kill him. But, you know, for coming back and making all of our lives a living hell. Welcome back, dead. Shanked him.
I'm going to really make you disappear.
You thought you were gone before.
Let me explain. No.
It's like that. It's like Elizabeth Smart. I mean, obviously that was a kidnapping, but you know.
Yeah, that's a dark case, man.
That was a really dark
blame
case.
Her.
No, I'm not blaming her. That wasn't a victim blame.
I mean, the analogy you were making there kind of
it was poor timing. It was poor timing. It was alluding to the fact of someone disappearing and then showing back up. Yeah, the delivery was horseshit on that one, I will admit.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, I think this case is really interesting. I know that if I was presented in the situation where this happened, I would be asking so many questions. And yeah, I think we should get into it. Britton, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. A music, tense piano drone.
That's funny.
Tonight, we invite you to step into the shadows with us. As Cleet mentioned, imagine someone you love simply vanishing one day. No goodbye, no trace. 5 years pass in agonizing silence. And then, out of nowhere, a ghost appears on social media, a familiar face in an unfamiliar life. This isn't a ghost story, but it feels like one. Karketa Taylor was one of those people. A woman in her early 30s with a full life, a career, a home, even children that she adored. Suddenly gone. Karketa was educated and accomplished. She worked for over a decade at the Briars Company and was known for her ambition. In 2020, without warning, she disappeared from her usual routines. One day, she was a devoted mother and colleague. The next, she was nowhere to be found. Her family searched desperately, filing reports and praying for answers, but it was as if she had been swallowed by the abyss. Fast forward to 2025, half a decade later. Just when hope was thinning to a thread, a ripple appeared on the surface of an unlikely place. Facebook. A woman in a town called Medina, Texas, made a simple post, a post that would crack this mystery wide open. On the surface, it seemed banal, a cheerful note praising a helpful housekeeper. Yet this innocuous update held a dark, hidden significance. The post featured a photo of a smiling woman identified as Karketa Taylor. Ada Smerick, the local woman who posted it, described Karketa as a big help around her house for the past 3 months, handling everything from cleaning to yard work. The poster even offered to refer Karketa to others in town who needed help. For most who scrolled past, it was just a kind recommendation. But for those who knew Karketa, or thought they knew her, this was anything but ordinary. Imagine seeing a missing loved one resurface as a stranger's housekeeper in a random Facebook photo. The shock hit like a thunderclap. Little did Ada know, the woman she was advertising as a handy helper had been someone's missing sister for years. The stage was set for a revelation that would send chills through an entire online community.
Ada's Facebook post might have looked wholesome at first glance, but it quickly became the center of a firestorm. Picture the scene. Ada, a resident of Medina, Texas, posts a smiling snapshot of herself with Karketa. The caption reads, like a local bulletin, Karketa Taylor has been a big help at our house for the past 3 months. She washes windows, floors, dishes. She shampoos rugs, mows lawns, and clears bush. Brush. Clears my brush.
You gotta clear the bush today. It's one of those days. It's bush clearing day.
She's a willing worker. Contact us if you are in Medina area and need help. Ada presented Karketa as an industrious, willing worker, as if recommending a gardener or a maid to the neighbors. To an outsider, it might seem Ada was simply helping Karketa find more work, but something about the tone, it felt off. Why was this stranger acting as a go-between for Karketa? Why not let Karketa speak for herself? These questions would soon ignite the internet. The phrase, willing worker, in particular, sent a shiver down many spines. Even the phrase, willing worker, seems off. Like the poster was trying to head off accusations of exploitation. One person remarked online, it was as if Ada anticipated people might question the arrangement, insisting Karketa was a happy volunteer. Crucially, Ada's post didn't mention any family or past life for Karketa. To Ada, Karketa was just a helpful hand who had been a big help. But to those who recognized Karketa's name, this was the first sign of life in 5 years. Ada, as it turns out, is part of a tight-knit religious community in Medina. Whether out of naivete or something more sinister, she had unknowingly exposed a secret. In that single post, Ada cracked open Pandora's box. The photo of Karketa alive, apparently well enough to work, was now out in the world, and once the internet got a hold of it, nothing could stop what came next. The first tremors of the revelation began quietly. A few Facebook users in Texas saw Ada's post and thought something about Karketa Taylor sounded familiar. Perhaps someone recalled a missing persons flyer or a news blurb from years ago. Word reached one of Karketa's relatives back in Georgia. Then, like lightning, Karketa's sister found herself staring at the screen, at a picture she never expected to see. The missing woman they had cried for, prayed for, searched for, alive. In a stranger's Facebook feed. The sight was surreal and eerie, and the sister's next move would ensure the whole world knew about it.
Karketa's older sister, we'll call her Taylor RB, as she did online, could hardly believe her eyes. 5 years of agony came to a head in one single Facebook post. Her reaction spilled out onto the keyboard, public and raw. Under Ada Smirick's cheerful post, Taylor typed a comment that would shock everybody who read it. My sister has been missing for over 5 years, and here she is. She went on to remind everyone who Karketa really was. A well-educated woman, a former homeowner and a longtime employee of Briar's. Not somebody you'd expect to be cleaning houses for strangers. Taylor's disbelief and anger crackled through her words. Finally, she addressed her sister directly in that comment, delivering a line that sent shivers through thousands who later saw the screenshot. Sister, I am happy to see you are alive, but I don't know whether this picture looks like an auction or you're self-employed. An auction. That word hung in the air. In one breath, Taylor exposed the dark undercurrent that she sensed. The feeling that Karketa was being paraded as if for sale to the highest bidder. It was a pointed, heartbreaking reference. Readers immediately thought of scenes from horror stories, even the film Get Out, really good movie, where a smiling facade hides a sinister captivity. This picture looks like an auction, a phrase both devastating and chilling. In context, it implied that Karketa was being offered up like property. Indeed, one stunned commenter exclaimed, "What in the Get Out?" A reference to the horror film, as people struggled to grasp how a missing woman could resurface in such a bizarre way. Taylor's public call-out turned Ada's Facebook post from a local curiosity into an inferno of attention. Within hours, the post was shared and reshared. Before Ada or anyone in Medina could hit delete, screenshots had been saved and disseminated. The internet's true crime community and social media at large went into overdrive. On Reddit, a thread about this viral helper post lit up with thousands of comments. On Twitter and Instagram, users reposted the images with captions like, "Missing for 5 years, found on Facebook? What in the actual hell?" News of the bizarre discovery even reached local media. Small outlets in Texas and Georgia picked up the story after the family tagged their newsrooms, amplifying the signal. Suddenly, Karketa's name was on everyone's lips, after years of gut-wrenching silence. The immediate aftermath was chaos and confusion. Ada Smirick's original post vanished, likely taken down amidst the furor, and Taylor's explosive comment was removed as well. But it was far too late to pull the genie back into the bottle. Speculation flooded in to fill the void. Where had Karketa been all this time? Why was she in Texas, apparently doing menial chores for strangers? And most importantly, was she safe? The day after the discovery, Karketa's family managed to get in touch with Ada's household. A relative, perhaps Taylor herself, got a brief phone call with Karketa. For a moment, their hearts soared. Karketa was alive. They could finally hear her voice, but that joy quickly curdled into dread. Something was wrong. Karketa's voice on the line was hesitant, guarded. She said only a few words, and the call was cut short, raising more questions than answers. The relative who spoke with her later described the interaction as suspicious. It felt as if someone might be listening or coaching Karketa on what to say. When the family pleaded to see Karketa on a video call, just to lay eyes on her and know she was truly okay, she refused. No FaceTime, no Zoom. Karketa would not, or could not, show her face on camera. That sent a chill down her sister's spine. Why wouldn't she let them see her? Was she hiding visible injuries, or was someone preventing her from fully reconnecting? Taylor noticed, even from the Facebook photo, that her sister didn't look quite the same. Something happened to her eye and her hand, she lamented, alarmed by subtle signs of injury in the image. The implication was chilling. Had Karketa been hurt during those lost years? There were bruises or marks only a loved one's eye could catch. Mixed signals poured in. One family member claimed that when they finally got a hold of Karketa, she insisted she was fine and that everyone had it wrong. But others in the family weren't buying it. To them, Karketa's words sounded almost scripted, as if she were under pressure or being told what to say. Was she truly content living off the grid in Texas, doing chores for a church lady? Or was she too afraid to speak freely? 5 years earlier, Karketa had vanished without explanation. Now she had reappeared just as enigmatically. Alive, yes, but perhaps not free. The entire situation teetered between hopeful and horrifying, and nobody, not even her own family, could tell which it was.
As the shock settled, the world was left with a modern mystery. How did Karketa Taylor end up in Medina, Texas, and why? In the absence of clear answers, theories began to swirl in the dark corners of the internet. Each theory was a thread attempting to stitch together the fragments of Karketa's story, and each was more unsettling than the last. The first theory, cult captive, and I'll be honest, this is like where my mind went first. Many became convinced that Karketa had fallen into the clutches of a religious cult. Medina is quiet and isolated, the kind of place where a secretive group could operate under the radar. Ada Smirek herself was noted to be involved in a small religious ministry in the area. Online sleuths dug into Ada's digital footprint and didn't like what they found. It definitely feels cult-like, one commenter observed after scouring Ada's Facebook. Ada's posts were reportedly filled with alt-right conspiracy links and ultra-conservative religious content. In photos of her church gatherings, Karketa was always the only black person among a sea of older white congregants. To many, that image was a glaring red flag. Karketa looked out of place, perhaps isolated and vulnerable among people who might not share her background. It was easy to imagine a scenario where a vulnerable woman, far from home, was absorbed into a tight-knit sect that promised her shelter or salvation in exchange for absolute obedience. A detail from Karketa's past suddenly took on new significance: an arrest record. According to public records, Karketa A. Taylor had a run-in with the law in the late 2020s. If she was incarcerated or in legal trouble around that time, that could be when Ada's group found her. Perhaps through a prison ministry outreach. Religious groups targeting incarcerated people is hardly uncommon, one Redditor user pointed out. Indeed, a plausible sequence emerged. Karketa, at a low point and cut off her family, might have been saved by a devout couple like Ada, who offered her a fresh start. Grateful and looking for guidance, she could have joined their community willingly, only to find herself enmeshed in something far more controlling than she bargained for. The signs of a potential cult were all there: isolation from her old life, hints of ideological extremism, and an almost patronizing supervision of her daily activities. If true, it meant Karketa wasn't physically chained, she was psychologically bound. The second theory was even more grim: trafficking or exploitation. Could Karketa be a victim of modern-day slavery, forced to work under someone's thumb? The way Ada's posts advertised her labor struck many as disturbingly transactional. It wasn't just that Ada listed Karketa's chores like bullet points. It was that she invited others to contact her, not Karketa, if they wanted to help. That detail smacked of control. If she's self-employed, why would you have to contact some random lady on her behalf? One person asked, pointedly. The absence of any mention of pay or employment terms in Ada's post made it sound like Karketa was being lent out for free. And in fact, when Ada's ministry was later confronted, they issued a terse statement apologizing for misinformation and calling Karketa a dear friend, but pointedly did not clarify whether Karketa was being paid or was formally employed. To skeptics, that was as good as a confession that Karketa's labor was unpaid. Perhaps she was working in exchange for food and shelter, a vulnerable person exploited under the guise of charity or religious devotion. Online, the exploitation theory gained momentum. The phrase, "looks like an auction," was on everyone's lips, and not just her sister's. Here was a real woman with a name and face, apparently being offered up for her labor. I don't know. Labor, trafficking, that looks something like this is a lot more in common than a salacious QAnon-esque stuff, one commenter observed. And even the phrase, "willing worker," seems off. I get why it's freaking people out. The truth is, labor exploitation doesn't always involve chains and padlocks. Sometimes it looks like a kind church lady taking in a drifter and getting a helper in return. A helper who gradually loses any independence. Observers posited that maybe Karketa was being kept docile, perhaps through manipulation or even subtle threats, to perform work for Ada's household and perhaps others. It didn't escape notice that Ada's phrasing, "willing worker," sounded almost defensive. Perhaps this wasn't a highly organized trafficking ring, but rather an informal situation where someone in power was taking advantage of Karketa's vulnerability. As one observer put it bluntly, "Ew, culty as fuck."
Ew.
Even the best
Yucky.
Even the best case scenario here is deeply unsettling. The third theory was perhaps the hardest for Karketa's family to contemplate, but it had to be asked. Did Karketa leave on her own free will? Could it be that she wasn't a victim at all, but an unhappy soul who chose to vanish and start anew, cutting ties deliberately? Some pointed out that nothing in Ada's photo obviously showed Karketa in distress. She wasn't chained up or crying for help. In fact, she appeared calm, even content, doing honest work. No one had heard from Karketa in 5 years. What if she wanted it that way? Maybe Karketa is keeping her distance on purpose, a few commenters suggested. Perhaps she had fallen on hard times, felt ashamed or disillusioned with her old life, and sought refuge in a simple, devout community. If she had mental health struggles, as one cousin reportedly mentioned, she might have wandered until she found a place she felt she belonged. Even if that place seems odd to outsiders. In that interpretation, Ada might genuinely be a good Samaritan who took Karketa in, and the awkward Facebook post was just poor wording by someone trying to help. It's worth noting that Karketa hasn't publicly cried out for rescue. She told at least one relative that she was fine. Her refusal to video chat could be due to embarrassment or mistrust, not necessarily coercion. Could it be that Karketa simply doesn't want to go back to her old life? Each theory, cult, trafficking, or voluntary disappearance, carries its own kind of horror. Was Karketa brainwashed by a fringe religious sect, forced into unpaid servitude, or did she choose a life in the shadows for reasons only she knows? Without firm answers, the internet has debated them all. Perhaps the truth is a tragic cocktail of personal crisis, opportunistic saviors, and a gradual loss of independence. What everyone agrees on is that something about the situation is wrong.
While strangers online debated theories, for those who know and love Karketa, this is deeply personal and painful. Imagine being Karketa's sister Taylor after a fleeting phone call. You heard your sister's voice for the first time in years, only to sense fear lurking behind her polite words. You know something isn't right, but you can't just barge in and take her away. The helplessness is crushing. Taylor's emotional Facebook post laid her heart bare. God help me, put it on her heart to come home. I love you. She implored in anguish. It's the kind of desperate prayer that resonates with anybody. For 5 years, the Taylor family lived with uncertainty. Now they live with a new kind of uncertainty. Relief that Karketa is alive, and dread about what her life has become. This story has struck a nerve far beyond one family. Why? Perhaps because it lays bare how easily someone can slip through the cracks. Karketa wasn't a child or elderly. She was an able-bodied adult. And when adults go missing, there's often a shrug from authorities. Maybe they left on purpose. In Karketa's case, police initially had little to go on. She had the right to disappear. Even now, with her rediscovery, investigators say their hands are tied unless there's evidence that she's in danger or being held against her will. Many listeners have asked, why can't they just go get her? The answer is simple. Legally, Karketa has the right to stay exactly where she is, even if outsiders find it suspicious. Yet Karketa's saga raises an unsettling question. How many others might be out there, missing yet living unnoticed lives until a chance photograph brings them to light? Her case shows that social media can be a double-edged sword, capable of exposing hidden truths, but sometimes only in the most traumatic of ways. Online, Karketa's story has spurred conversations about exploitation, vulnerability, and the blind spots in how society handles missing adults. The incident has sparked broader conversations about vulnerability, labor exploitation, and missing persons, one report noted. There's outrage at the idea that somebody could be essentially working as an unpaid servant. There's fear. Could this happen to somebody that I love? And there's a grim hope that maybe, just maybe, with all this attention, Karketa's bizarre situation can be resolved and lessons learned to prevent the next case. In a way, Karketa's reappearance is a cautionary tale for our connected age. It reminds us that people can vanish into lives that we'd never expect, and that sometimes technology can shine a light in the darkest corners. But that light can be harsh and unforgiving. The Taylor family's private pain became public spectacle in a matter of hours. The world is watching now, waiting to see what happens next. And as we wait, we grapple with unsettling questions about trust and faith. Karketa's story is no longer just her own. It's become a mirror reflecting how society treats the missing, the vulnerable, and the exploited.
As we draw to the end of this harrowing saga, one crucial truth remains. We still don't know the full story of Karketa Taylor. The Facebook post that blew this case open has left us with more questions than answers. No police agency or official source has yet offered a clear narrative. Karketa is, as our last update, still in Medina, Texas, presumably under the wing of Ada's religious group. Her family is still pleading for a chance to see her face to face, to truly understand her situation, and the rest of us are left to wonder, what happened during those 5 missing years? Why did Karketa vanish in the first place? Was she led astray by a manipulative group, or did she walk away from her life willingly? Is Ada Smirek a benevolent do-gooder, or who unwittingly stumbled into a family's nightmare? Or is she part of something more troubling that preys on the lost? Perhaps even Karketa herself struggles to explain how she went from an independent working mom in Georgia to a willing worker on a remote Texas property. The theories we've explored swirl in the air, but the fact remains as murky as the moonless night. A casual Facebook post turned into a possible crime scene when viewed through a different lens. An ordinary snapshot unveiled an extraordinary mystery. We find ourselves peering into the life that appears normal, chores, smiles, church gatherings, yet we all sense a sinister undertow beneath those everyday images. It's that dissonance that keeps so many of us awake at night thinking about this case. For now, authorities tread carefully. Without clear evidence of coercion, law enforcement can't forcibly intervene. If Karketa truly chose this path, she has the right to remain where and with whom she pleases. If she's being held by psychological chains, she hasn't spoken the magic words that would trigger a rescue. It's a terrible limbo. Her sister Taylor and the rest of the family remain in torment, hopeful but terrified, active on social media and in touch with anyone who might help. The ministry in Medina, meanwhile, has closed ranks, insisting nothing is amiss. They call Karketa a dear friend and beg for misinformation to stop. Yet they refuse to answer the simplest question about whether she's free to leave or being paid for her work. Their silence only fuels the suspicions. And so we end the story much as it began, in uncertainty. It is rare to have a missing persons case where the missing person is found, yet not truly free. Karketa Taylor is alive, but is she really living on her own terms? As we dim the lights on the episode, we invite you, the viewer, to sit with the unsettling uncertainty that lingers. Picture Karketa late at night in the quiet Texas town, perhaps lying awake on a cot or in a spare room, wondering if she should run or if this is her fate. Picture her family back home, phones by their pillows, praying that the next call will be Karketa saying she's coming home, or at least that she's safe and means it. In the end, we only have the questions echoing into the abyss. What really happened to Karketa Taylor? And is she truly safe? Each possibility is a door into darkness. Until one opens and the truth steps out, we can only peer from the threshold, hearts in our throats, and wonder.
Well, goddamn. What do you think, Cleet?
I personally think she's probably a willing participant.
Right.
I think what probably happened is she was in jail. I'm not saying it's not a cult, but she probably found some type of connection to this group. And maybe her home life wasn't as good as maybe they state. I don't know. But maybe she just prefers to be there. Maybe it's peaceful.
She found a way.
I'm not saying it's the optimal solution for anybody. But maybe that's where she's just decided what's best for her. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cults can be weird, man. They can really rope you in. And she does seem to fit the profile of someone who was at a low point in their life, and they do seem to incorporate the isolation factor like cults generally do. I don't know what you do though. If you had a family member join a cult and they didn't want to leave, what do you do?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
It's psychological warfare, right? They say all the right things. They create that sense of community, and they kind of give that unwavering support and you can't leave sort of thing. But it's also in the story itself, they talk about people can disappear. It's not illegal. If you want to just fucking leave and start something new, that's not illegal. You can go anywhere. I mean, it's shitty, right? Because she had kids, she had a career and everything. But like you said, maybe her home life, maybe she didn't like where she was at, and she found a way out and took it. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of creepy. But I am curious to see what you at home think about this dark tale of a disappearance and a reappearance. And if you have a story you want us to cover that covers that same thing, let us know. We're always open to suggestions. But that is going to wrap us up for this evening. As always, we want to give a huge special thank you for our paid supporters of the show, Soylent, Cleat Feet, Lara, Mothman, Conklin Family, and Lou. Your paid support of the show is tremendously helpful, and if you yourself would like to join this group of individuals, please click the link below. There's several tiers to choose from, as well as a link that will give you access to a one-time beer donation of the show.
If you're listening to us on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, as it really helps us get us out there. As always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.